Alright, welcome to the Dynascape Creator webinar. This is going to be a complete overview of Creator, covering as much as we can in this session. We'll start with a quick overview of what Creator is and how to navigate around, and then create a base plan from scratch. We'll fill in our base plan by adding figures and labels and generate a black and white PDF of our drawing. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and our chat moderators will help answer any questions you have. Alright, first off, if you want to try Creator, you can sign up on Dynascape.com for a free 30-day trial. If you're new to Dynascape, the easiest way to sign up is from the website. Scroll down until you see Creator, and then click the free trial button. Fill out the form in the next page to get started. If you're already a Dynascape customer, you can log into your Dynascape My account to add a Creator free trial subscription to your cart. If you're having any trouble getting started, you can get in touch with us via email at sales@dynascape.com to get help setting up. If you've already tried a Creator free trial, it may have changed a lot since you last checked it out. We've added a lot of new features over the last few months, and I'll touch on as many as I can during this presentation. If you want to sign up for a second free trial under your existing Dynascape account to see what's new, just reach out to us at sales@dynascape.com and we'll get you set up with your new trial. Alright, so first off, what is Creator all about? Well, Creator is a web-based CAD program that runs in your web browser. It's essentially Dynascape Design, but on the web. This means that it can run on any machine, Windows or Mac, no matter where you are, as long as you have an internet connection. No more juggling license activations, no more transferring drawing files between computers. Everything is ready for you to work from the moment you open the site and log in. We're making Creator as the next generation CAD offering from Dynascape. Our goal is to make creating landscape designs as quick, efficient, and simple as possible. We want Creator to be easy to pick up and learn, and we're adding new tools to automate your workflows to make both drawing and editing easier and faster. We also offer color and 3D presentation options through integration with Dynascape Color and SketchUp, so you can easily go from basic black and white drawing with a hand-drawn feel to a beautiful full color or 3D presentation. Alright, let's get into things and take a closer look at what we'll cover in today's webinar. First, this is the finished drawing that we're going to create today. This is what it's going to look like after we're finished it in Color, and this is what it's going to look like after we've finished it in Creator. Before we start working on our drawing, I'll touch on how to navigate throughout the main menu. Go into Dynascape Creator here. The main menu is where all your drawings are stored, and you can organize your drawings by creating folders. On my site, I've created separate folders for my different projects, but note that I also have a folder called My Figures. This is something we'll touch on later. To create a new folder, you just hit the New Folder button, give the folder a name, and then hit the Create Folder button. You can put folders inside of folders, and using the Actions button, which is the 3 dots on the right hand side there, you can move, delete, or rename your folders or your drawings. One other option you have here is the ability to import an existing drawing. If you have an AutoCAD drawing, like a DWG or a DXF, a vector PDF, or even another Creator drawing, maybe you received one from another designer, you can select the import button to bring it directly into Creator to work with. If you have a Dynascape Design drawing that you want to work with, you can save it as a DWG or DXF and then import it into Creator. Alright, let's get drawing. To start a new drawing, click on the New Drawing button. For this drawing, I'm going to import an existing raster image of a design drawn to scale to trace over. We're going to pick our paper format and scale. I'm working with Arch C and a 1:8 scale in landscape. I'll have the checkbox down here to confirm. Now we have some options on how to get started. For this drawing, I'm going to import an existing raster image of a design drawn to scale to trace over. First, I'll open the Image tool, and then click Browse. Then I'm going to find and select my image file and place it onto the drawing where I want it to be. Just double click there. Now this image is already to scale, so if I stretch it all the way to make it fill the canvas, it'll be to scale. But I want to demo the scale image tool, so I'm going to make it a little smaller than it needs to be. Alright, now it's on the drawing. Then I'm going to pull up the scale image tool, and I'm going to draw a line of known length to resize my image. So I've got this scale marker right here, so I'm just going to enter 20 feet. And I'm going to go here, just zoom in to get as accurate as I can, and I'll draw that. Bam. So now we can see it's resized, and I'm just going to move it on the canvas. There we go. Now my image is taking up the entire canvas, and I'm ready to get going. So I'm going to start by tracing my building line. I'm going to use the line tool for this, and I'm going to turn auto snap on. If auto snap is turned off, the tool will close as soon as I draw my line. So this setting allows me to continuously place sequential line segments that are joined end to end. As I place line segments, I'm going to be mindful of the layer that I'm placing them on. So I'm going to use the building layer to place my line segments. I'm going to start right here. And I'm also going to use the base layer for these lines. So right now I'm just tracing my drawing, but I'm also using dynamic input so that I get the exact line length that I want. To use dynamic input, just hit the tab button on your keyboard and then type in the desired line length of the line you want to enter. And there we go, that's one. I'm going to do a 10-inch one there. Now, as I'm drawing my lines, I'm leaving vertices marked where I want to have separation between doors and windows and wall segments. So I'm going to separate those later, but right now I'm just going to drop the vertices so that there is at least an actual separation in line segments. And then I'm going to change the layer later to visually differentiate them. I'm just doing this a little quickly, not super precise for our example. I'll leave a 3-foot gap here for this door. Alright, and then I'm going to hit Z to close this operation off. You can always see in the bottom left corner the command prompt. This is going to tell you what your next action should be. Alright, so before I update the windows and doors on my building line, I'm going to draw my fence and property lines going around the drawing. I'm going to move on to the fence B layer to do this. I'm just going to start right over here. We're going to go all the way up. Going to have that right there. And then I'm going to draw another one over here. Get that And so now I don't really need my image anymore, so I could either hide the temp layer, which is the layer that I imported on, and that will get rid of the image by hiding it away. I could delete the image if I really don't need it, or I could just drag it off into space, so that way it's outside of my canvas and it's going to be somewhere over here, and I can reference it if I ever need to. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to drop it right over there. Alright, so we've got a good start. I'm going to finish up my fence, and then I'm going to add my windows and doors and kind of close everything off here. Alright, so we've got quite a few windows on this drawing. I'm just going to select them all. And I'm going to hold down the Shift key on my keyboard so that I can do bulk selection. This is going to allow me to edit multiple entities as a group. And that's my window and that's my door. Okay. And to edit these in bulk, I'm just going to change the base layer from building to base, hit OK, and then now we can see I've got my separation here for my windows and what are going to be my doors. I'm also going to finish off my fence here and get rid of that. I don't really need these lines. And I'm going to use the offset tool for this. So I'm just going to offset it by 1 foot, and you can see in the tooltip that appears there, I've got like a -3 when I go in this direction, and then if I go to the left, it's positive. So always be mindful when you're using the offset tool which direction you're going. If it's going to be positive or negative, that direction is influenced by the way you draw the line. So I drew this going from bottom to top, so my negative is on the right. You can always just tell whenever you look at this when you're using the offset tool and double check the direction you're going in. So I need negative, so I need -1 foot. Now I've got my fence there, and I'm going to do -1 foot here because I drew this one top down. And I'm just going to connect these lines. Perfect. And now I'm going to use the fence A layer to draw that final section of my fence that's connecting from there to here. Alright, there we go. Starting to come along. Now I'm going to start connecting some things here, and I'm going to switch to my walk patio layer. And I'm just going to close off some of these loose ends. Like link these up together, and you can see how when I lock into something like a vertice, it is actually showing me that I'm locked to the endpoint of something, and it's lining up in this case to be orthogonal to that other vertice. So I'm just going to click to finish that up, and then this one I want to extend this line a little bit. So what I'm going to do is use dynamic inference snapping. I'm going to hold my mouse over this entity to engage it, and then when I move away you can see there's these 3 green dots on the line. So that means that inference snapping is engaged, and I can line up to be collinear with my engaged entity. We can see that there's all sorts of snapping that just engages when you're lined up relative to that other entity. So this case I want it to be parallel, and I also want it to line up end to end, and we can see that it snaps right there. I'm just going to do that and then connect these off to finish that. Alright, and I'm going to zoom out to my page extents, and we can see that our base plan has come along. We've got a building outline, and we've got a fence that's enclosing the property, and this is going to be a backyard pavilion project with a pool, so we've got really everything we need to start filling this in. So one thing that the client asked for is some steps coming off their back door. Right, so this is going to be their main back door here. I can do this. We'll do 1.5 feet. And we'll use inference snapping to line this up. There we go. Close it off. And so now we have one step, but I'm going to add a couple more here. So what we're going to do is use the offset tool, so that way I can get an exact offset of the distance that I want. So I'm going to do 1 foot, and I'm just going to offset by 1 foot in each direction. And you can see how these offsets are matching the original line, so I need to extend these other lines in order to make everything line up. And in Creator, this is really easy. So I can just grab the endpoints of these lines in order to edit them. So I'm going to drag it down. I wanted to snap that one. This one I also want to snap here. And then I want to extend these so that they're in line with this. So I'm going to use inference snapping once again. I'm going to hover over. That entity is engaged now. So that is longer. This is also going to be longer. And then we're going to extend these so that they meet end to end. Alright, pretty easy. I'll just add one more step to do that again. So we'll do 1 foot offset. And then we're going to make everything extended. There we go. We're going to snap this end to end. And we're going to do that once more, really just in any order you want. Make sure it's snapped to the endpoint. And there we go. So now we've got our 3 steps coming off the back door. I'm also going to start defining the patio by building in a little garden bed right here. So to do this, I'm going to use the walk patio layer. I could also use the plant bed layer. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of a personal preference thing at this point, but we're going to have a line coming off here, and we want it to extend a little bit past. So let's go for 3 feet. And then we're going to make this come all the way to right here. It's going to be lined up with the end of that window. And then we're going to come up here. And let's make it about in line with that, right about there. And then we'll extend this up. There we go. Right to the walkway. Perfect. Alright, so I've got a lot of my detail entered here. And actually, now that I have a lot of my base plan defined, I'm going to add in a title block to my drawing. So title blocks in Creator are figures, and they can be found in the title blocks library right here. So you click on the categories drop down of the insert figure tool. You go right here, and you can do a little search. So I'm going to search for title blocks. And in our most recent update, we've added dynamic title blocks. Title blocks that automatically adapt to your scale and sheet size. So to use one of these new title blocks, I'm going to select the one that corresponds to my sheet size. Different formats, different paper formats have different aspect ratios, and right now we've got 3 title blocks. One that works for all metric paper formats is this one right here, Air Series Landscape. We've got one that works for Arch A, C, and E, and then we've also got one that works for Arch B and D. So since I'm working in Arch C, I'm going to select this one, and you can see as soon as I click it, it automatically pops into my drawing. To fill out my title block, I'm going to click on it to highlight it, and then I'm going to go right over here to this parameters button in the properties panel. When I click on it, it opens up a dialog box that I can use to fill up my title block details like project name, address, etc. The drawing scale doesn't need to be entered. That will automatically change to match your active drawing scale. So let's see here. We'll do project name, November, webinar. We'll do address, 123 Dynarscape Avenue by Jordan. I'll do, actually, that'll be the sheet title, and then we'll do Smith Residence is the project name. So yeah, you can just scroll through here to fill out all the details about revisions or who reviewed the drawing, anything like that, any notes you want to add, and then you hit confirm, and it's going to fill out the title block. And you can just hit the space bar or hit the checkbox right here to confirm what you've entered. Now, to see the new title block in action, because it does resize dynamically to your scale and sheet size, let's see here. So I'll go from Arch C to Arch E, and we can see that my title block has resized because my scale, or sorry, my paper format is way bigger now. So my drawing hasn't changed. I could rescale my drawing if I wanted to, but my title block is sort of stayed in relation to my paper format. So I'm going to take it back to Arch C, right? We can see the title block changed. And this also works when I change the scale. So if I go to like 1 inch equals 16 feet, again, kind of the same result. My drawing is now much smaller, but my title block stayed the same. So I'm just going to change that right back to 1 to 8. I could also undo. That would work. You got the undo and redo buttons right there. Control Z and Control Y as a keyboard shortcut. But now let's get back to the drawing. So I'm going to continue to define my patio. I'm going to use that walk patio layer right here to draw it. And I'm just going to, for the sake of this webinar, kind of rough it in. We'll go 8 feet here. And I'm going to leave a section here for my garden bed and just draw this out a little bit. So this entire enclosed section over here, this is going to be my patio. And then I'm going to have a pool going right here. So let's make this 4 feet. We'll go 2 feet here. And then we'll go up about 9 feet. And we'll put about a 1 foot edge there. And I'm going to leave this space here so that I can connect my pool figure in here, and then we're going to hatch the entire patio. You'll kind of see that in action in a minute. I want about 6 feet, so I'm just going to draw this as a reference line. And it's going to be for part of the spillover waterfall from my pool. And we got our 1 foot ledge. And then we're going to go all the way back up here. We'll do 19 feet. And then this is going to connect all the way to a little pavilion that I'm going to put in a little bit later. And about 44 feet should do that. Actually, I'm going to change that up. I'm going to make this 35 feet. And then extend this down to be 9 feet. There we go, that's a little bit better. I'll do 9 by 9. And then I'm going to extend all the way down to be in line right about here with this. And my patio is going to extend like so. So pool right here, and then little pavilion right here, and then this is going to be my patio. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I can delete my helper line. To delete something in Creator, you can use the delete key on your keyboard. It's really easy. When you have something selected, you just hit delete, or you can hit the little trash can right here that appears in the tool modes area. So you can just click the delete button and then it disappears. So at this point I could just keep going and filling in more details, but for the basic drawing tools like the line tool and the offset, I think you get the point now. So what I'm going to do is add in a couple figures and then skip ahead to a more complete version of this drawing, so that way you don't just watch me in silence as I do the same things that I've already shown you. Alright. Actually, let's skip ahead to that new figure right now. So I've got it right here. So this drawing is a little bit more along the way. You can see that I've got some more lines here. I used the offset tool to create some offset lines. And then I've gone ahead and filled in a pavilion and hatched it. So we're going to cover hatching in just a moment. But before I get into hatching, I want to cover figures. Because I'm going to place a big pool figure right here, and then we're going to hatch around that pool figure. So before I do the pool figure, I just want to talk a little bit about figures in general in Dynascape Creator. So Creator comes with a pre-made library of over 1,000 figures, and you can access those by going to the Insert Figure tool right here. So we already saw that with title blocks, but I'm going to insert some door figures. So over here, I've got a little 4-foot gap for my 4-foot door. I'm just going to drop that in right there. And then I've got one for right here, a little 3-foot door. So you just pick the figure that you want from the figure library, and then you put it where you want it to be on the canvas. You click, and then you can rotate if you want. You can click again to finish placing it. If you don't want to rotate, the quickest way to do it's going to be you just click once and then hit the space bar, and then you can drop them in very quickly that way. So what I just did with the doors there, that's how normal library figures work. But what I want to do right now is create my own custom figure, because while this library is quite large, it's not going to cover every single case. There's going to be times where you want to create your own figures and reuse them later. So in Creator, it's actually very easy to make your own figures, and I'll show you how to do that right now. We'll start by putting in some of the things that I want to be in this figure. So I'm going to have a little rectangle right here that I'm going to hatch in a moment. I'm just going to change that to be, instead of on the temp layer, it's going to be on the retaining wall back layer. There we go. And then I want to have a 15 by 20 pool figure. So I'm going to use retaining wall face to build this one, and this is just because I like the line thickness of the layers that I'm using. So I'm going to start right from the midpoint here so that I get my 30 feet. We'll go 15 this way, and then we'll go 15 that way. Alright, perfect. And we'll go 15 this way. And we'll go 30 feet up here. Whoops. 30 feet. Alright, and then these two are going to just match up end to end because of how we drew it. And then I'm going to go into my pool accessories library. I'm going to find my 36-inch spillway figure. So this is just one that I already know about that I want to use. I'm going to drop it in right there. So that way I've got a little spillway coming off this section right here. And then I want to add some steps to my pool. So I'm going to use the offset tool for this. I'm going to add 1-foot steps coming off like so. And I'm going to change the layer of these to be retaining wall back, so they're a little bit thinner. All right, there we go. There's my steps. And what I just did there with selection, box selection in Creator, if you drag to the right, it'll grab everything that isn't completely enclosed by the box. So in this case, it grabbed just the spillway figure, but it didn't grab my pool. And if you go from right to left, everything that is not completely enclosed by the box, but it just the box lines pass through, those are selected. So in this case, the figure, this rectangle, and my pool lines were selected when I did right to left. Okay, so my pool figure is nearly finished. I just want to do some coping around my pool. So I'm going to use the offset tool for this again, and I'm just going to do a 1 foot offset, do a -1 foot offset like so, and -1 foot offset like all around here. This one is also -1, and this one is 1 foot offset. Okay, perfect. So I've got my offset lines, and just like I did with the steps coming off the back door earlier, I'm going to need to extend these lines to join everything up. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the trim tool to kind of clean up some of these lines here. So that was pretty quick and easy to do. And then I'm going to use the shift click to select all of these entities. I'm going to change these from retaining wall face to retaining wall back so that they're thinner, because this is going to be kind of like my pool coping. And then I'm going to start extending everything. So I'm going to bring this one up to be in line with that one, link those two together, bring this one out, extend, bring this one out, and extend, and one more time, bring it out, and connect it all together. Final thing I wanted to do here is just hatch this area. So I'm going to open up my hatching tool. And now hatching in Creator, I'll just give you a quick explanation about how it works. There's two different modes for hatching. We've got a pick point hatch, where you draw the boundary that you want to have hatched. And then you've got this other mode called select closed entities. So in Creator, a completely closed polyline or an existing type of entity that's automatically closed, like a rectangle or a circle or a polygon, those are eligible for hatching using the select closed entity mode. We're currently working on some new updates to make hatching even faster and easier, so it's essentially going to increase the amount of things that can be identified as a closed area. So what we're aiming for is what you see is what you get, essentially, with hatching. If something looks like it's closed, then you should be able to hatch it. But for this one, I'm going to go to my materials library. I want ANSI 31, and because this is a rectangle, it'll just be able to hatch right away. And this is going to be too large, so I'm going to scale it down right about there. And I'm also going to change it, because the line is a little too thick. I'm going to change it to retaining wall back, and there we go. I've got my figure is all complete. So the next thing I want to do is actually save this as a figure, because right now it's just something that I drew on my canvas, but it's not yet really reusable in an easy sense. I could, of course, copy and paste it to other drawings, but I want to have this saved to my figure library. So in order to create figures in Dynascape Creator, you go up here. It's in the same tool stack as Insert Figure, but it's one over here called Create Figure. So what you're going to want to do first is select the entities that make up your figure. So I'm going to use box selection here to grab everything in the pool, and because it didn't capture everything, I'm going to shift click to highlight this little section for my spillover right there, and that makes up everything that I've got that I want to save as my figure. So I'm going to call this figure 15 by 30 foot pool. And there's a couple things right here. So there's create with insertion point. The move grip that you see right here, this is going to be the insertion point. So when you have multiple entities selected, kind of the center of gravity of all those entities is this move grip. So you see that when you're in the Edit Multiple Entities tool and you've got lots of different things selected. When you're in the Create Figure tool, that essentially becomes the grip by which you're going to insert this figure. So this this move grip is going to be bound to your mouse right now at the center of this figure. So if I wanted to, I could move this somewhere else, right? I could move it over here, but I want to leave it in the middle of my figure, so I'm just going to place it down right there because this, I think it makes sense to kind of move this figure from the middle. So you have insertion point checked on there. If you uncheck it, what happens is it's automatically going to be placed on your drawing relative to the origin from where it is right now. So if I were to go into another drawing of the same sheet and same paper format and scale, and then inserted it, it would be in the exact same position that it is on this drawing. But that's how our title blocks work. So that's why they're able to insert automatically without you needing to actually stick them somewhere into the drawing. But in this case, this is a figure that I want to place manually, so we should leave insertion point turned on. If you're ever making your own title blocks or something, then it might make sense to uncheck this. But then we've also got save figure as drawing. So if I uncheck this box, it's not going to prompt me to save this figure somewhere. It's just going to actually create this as an internal figure. So all the geometry is going to be bound together in this drawing as if it's a figure, which it really is. So everything was able to be selected together. It behaves exactly like a figure. I can move and rotate this entire object as a single entity. So that's what it does if I uncheck it. It just doesn't save it to my library to be reused in the future. It's just if I want to take everything here that I see and treat it like it's a figure. In this case, I do want to reuse it though, so I'm going to leave that checked on. I gave it a name. I'm going to hit the checkbox. And now it's asking me, where do I want to save this figure? So you might notice that these are all my drawings. So figures are drawings. Creator doesn't really make the distinction technically between figures and drawings. So when you save a component of a drawing as a figure, you're saving actually a brand new drawing. So this is going to be saved, this 15 by 30 foot pool. It's going to be saved as its own drawing, and whenever I want to edit this figure, I simply go to that drawing and edit whatever is in there. It's just going to be the stuff that I have selected as part of the figure, the pool. So this means that you can create and organize your own figure libraries using the project folders. And so at the beginning of this session, I touched on why I had a My Figures folder right here. Well, it's exactly for this thing, so I can create my own custom figures and have a place to save them. So I'm just going to save that to the My Figures library right now. I can create different subfolders later, like a pool subfolder. We'll just save it right there for now. And there we go, my figure is created. So if I actually click on this, you can see that the entire thing moves because it's a figure. Alright, so now that I've got my pool figure designed, I am ready to hatch around it. So we're going to use the hatching tool for this, and I'm going to use the draw boundary mode. And I'm going to pick the Dynarscape Patterns library, and I'm going to pick Pavers Random, and I'm just going to start dropping it in here. So what I'm going to do is just pick all of the points that I want hatched. I left a little gap here. I'll fix that up on my next drawing, or rather I already have fixed it up in my next drawing that we'll see in a minute. But I'm just going to trace around here, and you can see when it snaps to object, it's pretty easy to stay in line with them. Nearly there. So we're just waiting until we come back and we see close, because we've created now a closed boundary for our figure. And then I click, and now the hatch is created. Now the next thing I want to do now that I've hatched my patio is I want to put some figures on top of it. I want to put some outdoor furniture. So let's go over here to the regular Dynascape figure library, and we're going to go to not pool accessories but garden furniture, and I'm going to take these lounge chairs and I'm going to place them right over here so that they're kind of just looking at the pool. And I'm going to rotate this one, and that's fine. I'm going to move it, and you'll see that I don't need to hatch around this figure here because the Dynascape figures that we have, a lot of them are already set up for hatching, meaning that they have this sort of layer mask within them that sits over top of any hatch patterns. So that's why I can move this anywhere I want, and the hatch pattern doesn't interfere. It always kind of stays on top of the hatch. So really easy to use. And this is a good situation for the duplicate tool. So I want to have 3 of these lawn chairs, or these lounge chairs rather. So I'm going to use the duplicate tool to create multiple entities here. And what I can do is use the mode called interval distance to specify the distance between copies and then enter as many copies as I want. So what I'm going to do is make sure I'm in that mode, click on the entity that I want to duplicate, hit start duplicating, and then I pick kind of like my duplicating start point, and then I just drag this along until I've got enough space in between my entities, and then I keep going. And as you extend the mouse, once you hit that same interval distance that you define between the first and second copy, it'll automatically pop in another copy. So it's really easy to kind of get as many as you need to have given a certain interval distance and total distance that you're working with. So I wanted 3 copies, so I'll just bring it back here, and now I've got 3. And an interesting thing about duplicates, this is a brand new update to Dynascape Creator. We've created duplicate arrays. So I'll demo this a little bit more when I do a row of shrubs. But as an array, these all are linked together. So you can see that these other ones have this highlight to indicate that they're related to this source object. And what this means is if I move the source object, my entities move along with it. So I can really easily reposition this to be anywhere that I want if I didn't really get the lineup quite right the first time. And actually, no, that's going to be fine. I'm going to put this little wicker table figure right next to that, so that way the person sitting there can put their book or their margarita or whatever they want on that when they're taking a break and lounging by the pool. And as we'll see later when I'm demoing with shrubs, when you create a duplicate array like that, you can undo it by exploding, and if you edit the source entity beyond just moving it, if I were to, for instance, resize it, all my dependent entities that are part of the array are also going to resize with it as well. So it's really, really easy to make edits to a chain of duplicates. So to make this feel a little bit more complete, we're going to pop in some more figures. I'm going to go over to the, let's see here, we've got our 8-chair dining table. I'm going to pop that in right here so that way the family can all get together. 8 chairs, you can entertain quite a few people. And then I'm going to go over to barbecue accessories, and I'm going to grab a 36-inch freestanding grill. I'm going to pop that over here right in this corner, make it facing the right way, push it back a little bit, and there we go. Now we've got a barbecue table and a bunch of lounge chairs. Alright. So the next things I'll add here to give a more complete example are going to be some shrubs and some trees. So let's go into shrubs and grab this 2-foot evergreen hedge, And I'm just going to draw a little hedge that's kind of going right along here. I'll drop one in, and I'll drop one in right here as well. And we're going to, as promised, use the array tool, the duplicate tool, to create multiple copies of these as an array. So we'll pop them in. There's our little hedge. And then we'll go start duplicating. You can also hit the D key on your keyboard instead of clicking on that button. And I'm going to set my interval distance. And let's see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, perfect. So we've got our little hedges right there. And so to see this in action, we already saw what happens if I move it around. But let's say that I wanted to go from a 2-foot hedge to a 1-foot hedge without changing my figure. Well, I could just rescale it like that, and all of them rescale. So we've got a brand new size. And the same if I want to go from 2 to 4, I can just double it like that. And once it is doubled, I could then edit my array. So because everything is kind of spaced out a little bit oddly right now, it's the space is not large enough, so you can actually edit the entities in the array to space them out further. So my interval distance is now changing, and this looks a lot better for a 4-foot shrub rather than my 2-foot shrub. But let's just change this back to the way it was at the beginning, because that looked kind of crazy. Yeah, editing, very, very easy when you're using arrays to change that scale of everything, and especially to update that interval distance if you want to make changes and you decide the interval needs to be a little bit different. We'll do some deciduous trees right here in this little plant bed, and we'll do a big shade tree right over here in the corner, and we'll do a much smaller one right over here. I'll grab maybe some perennials as well. Let's see what I got. Let's just grab some hostas, and I could put them in like so. Right, I'll pop one in there. I'll grab another shrub, another 2-foot shrub, and I'll pop that in right here. And so I could create an array, and sometimes it might make sense to, sometimes it's just going to be faster not to make the array. So for those I just drew them, but what I'm going to do now is I will create an array, but going this way. So I'm going to extend these going around like that. So that was kind of going this way, and then I'm going to extend these perennials going up like that. And I can change my interval distance, so maybe let's do that. I'll move this actually to be a little bit closer, kind of fine tune it. Right there, that's where I want it. I'm going to duplicate, start duplicating, make these a little bit closer, and then kind of fill them in like that. Yeah, so that pretty much covers using arrays, using figures. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to just switch to, again, the next step in this drawing, so that way you're not watching me add figures forever. But some things that I would do include kind of just filling in the rest of these gaps here with more and more figures going along the edge of the fence and inside these garden beds here. And then using pick point hatches, you can also draw ground cover. Just like you could in Dynascape Design, if you're familiar with that. You can use pick point hatches and pick an appropriate pattern from the list of hatch patterns to fill in a ground cover, and then cover that with a tree. That always looks really, really good. So let's switch over to that more complete version of the drawing, like that. and we can see here it is with a lot more detail. So we've got over here kind of what I was talking about. This is the hatch pattern, and we've got a tree, and then we've got a bunch of shrubs going around it, and everything is just in general kind of more filled out here. And at this point in your drawing, the next step would be to add all of your text labels. So we've already got a couple on here, including I threw in a figure that represents the scale. But what I want to do right now is drop in a bunch of labels for the lawn, for the pool, and also all my softscape labels for the plants that I have here. So to do that, we're going to first just use the text label tool. And I'm going to use one of my text layers. So we've got text label, and I'm going to say 15 foot by 30 foot pool. And we want it to be right in the middle there. Perfect. I'm going to do one more for the lawn. And if it makes sense to kind of line these up, you can do that. And actually I'm going to edit this so it's all caps, lawn, like that. So simple text labels, pretty straightforward. You can also do text with a leader like that. So if I wanted to do something that says pool shed, and I want it to be a leader, I can enter my text here, and then I can draw a leader line going off like that. Right, so we'll just do one here for pool shed. Now I want to add some softscape labels to this drawing to represent all my plants, so that way we know exactly what they all are. And to do that, you go into this text tool stack down to the softscape labeling tool, and you have a couple options for where you're actually getting your labels from. So there's a new update that just went out, actually as of about last week, that added the label manager to Dynascape Creator. So originally the only source of plants was the OPD, which was a non-configurable list of plants. It was basically the Dynascape list of approved plants, where if you wanted to add a custom plant, you had to do it like we did with the pool shed there, by entering a regular text label. But those labels are not able to be saved and reused over and over again, and they don't really carry any metadata about size or description, any plant culture data like care instructions, etc. And that's one thing we wanted to improve, and we did that by using the label manager. So the label manager is disabled by default. If you're new to Creator, you'll just have OPD automatically selected. So if you want to start creating your own list of plants, you're going to go into the Softscape labeling tool. You're going to make sure that you open the source panel and you change the source from OPD to label manager. And when you're brand new to the label manager, it's your own custom list of plants, so nothing is going to be there right away. You're going to need to add your own plants to this list. So to edit your plant list, you're just going to click this Edit Plants button right here, and that's going to open up the label manager in a new tab. All right, and you can see here, these are my plants that I've added to my plant list, so only I can see them. But yeah, if I ever want to edit my own plant list, I would go either directly to this site, which is labelmanager.dynascapemanage.com, or through Creator, I would click that Edit Plants button. But I'll give you a quick overview of how the label manager works right now. So once again, if you're new to Creator and you haven't used the label manager before, you're going to have a blank list of custom plants. So the easiest way to add just one new plant is go right here, click the green New Plant button, and then just type in the name of the plant that you want. All right, we'll just keep it really simple right now. for this example. All that's really required is that you enter a botanical name and a common name, and then you're also going to want to select the size. So you go to that size tab, and then you pick from this drop-down list the size. So you can use the search button here. So if I want to make a 3-gallon plant, I just pick it from the list. And then optionally I can enter a cost for my plant. So let's say it's 15 bucks. It's also going to set the price to be 15 bucks. So I can hit this fixed price button, and then I can change it from 15 to, let's say, 25. So now I've got a base cost per 3-gallon unit of this plant, and then here's what I'm going to charge for it. And that can be used later for things like reporting and takeoffs. I'll go back to the details tab. One thing I forgot to mention, you're also going to want to pick your category here. So you can edit all of this stuff after if you forget anything, but I'm going to say that this is a deciduous shrub. And then I'm going to hit the save button. And then now this plant has been added to my list. There's a few other things you can do here as well. You can link your plant information to our OPD, which will provide plant culture data powered by Horticopia, as well as a pre-selected image for that plant. So I'll go back over here to my main plant list to give you a better example. But I'll pick this Bloodgood Japanese maple and go to the culture tab here, and we can see that this one's been linked to Horticopia already. So it's got information like plant zone, plant type, USDA zone, sunset zone, little image right here. Another thing you can do is upload custom photos. If you don't want to use the Horticopia provided photos, you can use your own photos that will be associated with these plants. And right now that's not doing anything in Dynascape Creator, but our next updates are going to have a tool that lets you insert your custom plant images automatically based on the plant labels that you have on your drawing if you're using the label manager, and also generate a plant picture catalog based on all your custom images. So if you want to start uploading photos right away, it's definitely going to help out to get that stuff set up as soon as possible. That's how you add one plant at a time. If you want to add plants in bulk, you can use this import plants button, and we have a plant import CSV process where you can download a sample spreadsheet file. If you fill it out with the columns that are already on there that define botanical name, common name, size, plant category, and then you import that. But anyways, that will build your plant list, just filling them all out from the spreadsheet instead of needing to create them one by one. So that's definitely the fastest way to do it. So if you've already got a plant list from a vendor, you can use this method. If you're coming from Dynascape Design or Dynascape Manage 360, using this import spreadsheet is also the fastest way to get your plants into the label manager. I'm not going to cover all the details of that right now because we have a knowledge base guide that covers how to do everything in Label Manager, but just for the sake of this webinar, it's a brand new feature to Dynascape Creator, and it's going to be really, really helpful to be able to maintain your own plant lists. So I just wanted to show that how that works. So let's go back here to labeling. So I'm going to pick my Softscape label tool, and I'm going to search for Acer. And we can see there are the results based on what I had in the label manager. So not a lot of stuff right now, but I'll pick this one, and let's just pick the common name. The name that you click on is going to define what the label is going to say. So we're going to pick the 3-gallon Japanese maple, and I'm going to drop it right here to this tree, and there's only one of them. So there we go. That is how you label using the label manager. Because my label manager doesn't have a lot of custom plants right now, I'm going to go back to the OPD, and I'm going to do a few more plants here. We'll do green sheen. Let's see if I can find these. Yep, green cheese, Japanese Pachysandra. I want 12 of them, and it's going to be this little ground cover, or rather hatch pattern right here. we're going to do the green sheen Pachysandra. We're going to do some Anne Folkered Cranesbills. I'm going to drop that in right here. And actually, I don't want 12 of them. We're going to have, let's see, there's 10 of those right there. So we're going to do 10. And that is how you define your, of course, the count. You enter that right here in the quantity section. And we'll add a couple other labels here. Let's see, because I could use another text label. Let's say new wood fence. We'll drop that in right here so that they know that this is a brand new fence, not the pre-existing one. Anyways, you get the idea. This is how you add labels to your drawing, both from the OPD, both also including regular text labels, but also now your own custom plant list using the Label Manager. If you're curious about all the features the Label Manager has, you can check out the Creator Knowledge Base has a help article about how to use the Label Manager. So rather than add tons and tons and tons of labels here while you watch, I'm just going to skip ahead to a finished version of this drawing where I've added all the labels in already. So you can see that this is pretty much what we're aiming for by the time the drawing is filled out. So now that it's finished, to print it out, I'm going to go back to the home page, and before doing that, of course, you should save, but we're going to go back to the home page. We're going to select our drawing, and then we're going to click Export as a PDF. And you can choose whatever option you want. We're going to choose monochrome. Color palette would output those output colors that we saw actually on the drawing, but for a black and white presentation you probably want monochrome. And there we go. This is our completed drawing. So pretty straightforward, but our next step is we want to actually take this drawing and color it and create a beautiful colored presentation that's going to look something like this, right? So the way that we get there is we go back into Creator and we're going to hit the download button. And this is going to download our file as a .dsdraw file. Now .dsdraw files, those are just Creator's native files. You can think of it like AutoCAD has DWG and DXF and Design had DPD. Creator is DSDraw, and those files are compatible with Dynascape Color. So that's what we're going to use to color this drawing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Color, and I'm going to go File, New. I'm going to pick my DSDraw file, and I'm going to open it. And there we have it. So we've got our drawing. I'm going to just zoom in here to start working with it. Now, Dynascape Color has lots of these different swatch styles. So I can do my entire drawing in a pencil crayon style. I can do it in a marker hybrid style. I can do it in a contemporary style. For this example, let's go with marker hybrid. But yeah, Dynascape Color makes it really, really easy to fill things in with these swatches. So you pick your desired swatch, and you can adjust things like the opacity, which will make it easier to see through something. So we're going to make this tree. We're going to adjust the opacity so we can see all the plants below it. But if you want to add variety, you can rotate your swatches. Bleed just extends them a little bit beyond the outside boundary, so we'll see that when I play with it in a moment. All right, I'll fill this in, select this. Yeah, so opacity is going to make it easier to see what's below. Rotation is going to do that, kind of fun. And then bleed is going to make the swatch extend beyond the boundaries of the figure, so you can see kind of grows and spills out. So if you wanted to do sort of like an overgrown tree kind of look, you could use the bleed a little bit. But yeah, that is pretty much how it works. You pick your desired swatch, and then you fill in the figure that you want. And sometimes it can be hard to get that figure that you want because things are layered on top of each other in color. So in color, the way things get rendered it corresponds to the way that they were actually drawn in color. So what you'll need to do is use these buttons, bring to foreground and send to background. So right here, if I have anything on my drawing that is up too high, I would click on it to send it to the background. So first let's get like a mulch turf thing in here, and we'll fill that in. And now, terrible, right? It's totally overtaking the whole drawing. I'm going to make it a little bit less strong by adjusting the opacity, but then I'm going to send this to the background, right? And now that that's all the way at the background, all these other things are on top of it, and it's going to be easier to get to them. So if I go back to my trees, now it's easier to select this one, right? And I can adjust the opacity a little bit, reapply it, and then same deal with these. These trees have like the entire patios on top of it. The garden bed is this little plant bed's on top of it as well. So you just need to play around with these tools in order to get things in the area that you want them. So maybe we'll fill in some shrubs next. Right, I can do this area with some shrubs. I can do this right here. Yeah, pretty straightforward, pretty easy to fill stuff in with color, provided that you got everything on your drawing set up the way that you want it. Figures automatically colorable, so they're very simple. When it comes to coloring in an enclosed area, it must truly be an enclosed area, so not everything will be filled. If you ever do make a mistake in color, it's pretty easy to actually update your drawing without losing progress. So what you can do is if I wanted to change something here, like maybe I got a change request and I wanted to move this table and chairs, what I could do is I could go into my drawing, I could actually move it, right, move it somewhere else, save it, and then re-upload it, which will update my entire presentation without losing any of the things that I've already colored. So there's a complete guide on how to do that if you want to know the nitty-gritty, but this is just intended to be kind of a quick overview of how to use Dynascape Color. So we'll just color some stuff in quickly, right? Just like that. Let's see if we have a good one for grass pattern right there with the lawn. Maybe we'll rotate it a little bit to get it the way we want it. We want it coming up like that instead. And because it's on top of everything else, we're going to want to send that to the background. And you pretty much just keep playing with it like this. All right, we can fill in a little bit of a water pattern here. We can fill in this asphalt concrete section right here. We can make this, let's say like that. So continue going on, just using these fill tools to fill things in. We have a couple different fill tools. There's the fill a single object at a time, and then there's a tool that will fill in all instances of the same figure at the same time. So this is a really quick way to color your drawing quickly. One other thing you can do is add drop shadows. So it's this tool right here. If I want to add a drop shadow to something, I just choose the direction. I can choose the depth of the shadow. I can choose the opacity. So it's going to be blurry at all, give it soft edges. But then I just add it, and then I get my shadows like that. Okay, so that wraps up this webinar. Thank you so much for attending. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us at sales@dynascape.com. Before we go, I'll mention that we have our November sale coming up. It's 20% off monthly subscriptions and 30% off annual. So if you're looking to pick up some new design software, now's a great time. Thanks again for watching. Hope you have a great day.